For that, the main project I'm working on is JavaScript, and on JavaScript I'm doing tooling for TrackSRS, which is a spec for building RESTful applications, and I'm also involved in the OpenShift tooling for JavaScript. And so this is why I'm going to talk about building and deploying your application on your own cloud with OpenShift Origin. So before starting, who already tried OpenShift before? Okay, quite a few. So I'm going to start this talk with a quick overview of OpenShift, how OpenShift works, but not going into the very deep details. I'm just going to give you an overview so that you get the main concept of OpenShift working. So as a user, you will understand how it works. And then we'll go to the tooling you will use for OpenShift. So, as you know, OpenShift is a platform as a service, which means as a user or as a developer, you're going to write your code, deploy it on OpenShift. OpenShift is going to take care about everything you need, and your users are going to use your application. So, it is a platform as a service, so it needs to run on some infrastructure. OpenShift Origin or OpenShift in general runs on a large choice of infrastructure, so you get infrastructure, you get support for infrastructure as a service, such as Amazon Web Services or Platform on Stack, or some virtualized environments, such as Red Hat Enterprise Virtualization. And as part of the platform, you will get some nodes running on Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Fedora, not mentioned here, but also on Fedora. And some of these nodes have a special role which is called brokers. And in fact, the brokers are going to be called by the tooling you will use, and they are going to be responsible for the application lifecycle, for your application lifecycle, and they are going to manage your application. And the other nodes are going to be used to deploy, to run your application. So the fact is, we always talk about cloud and we think it's unlimited resources, and the fact is it's not unlimited. So what OpenShift does, it uses, for a given node, you can run multiple applications on it. And OpenShift has this concept of gears, which is basically an application container, and it's going to run multiple gears on per node. But each node, each application gear is going to be isolated from the other ones running on the same node. So your application code or data cannot be accessed by anyone else. Then, as a user or as a developer, you're going to use your favorite tooling, which can be the web console, some Eclipse tooling, like simulator, some command line tooling. And you're going to call the broker and ask him to create an application here for you and to configure it. And so we have this concept of cartridge. The cartridge basically gives you the type of application you want to run. And it's going to define the language in the middle one. So there are many types of cartridges you can get. You can get Java cartridges if you want to run your application on JBoss application server or JBoss enterprise platform, application platform, or on Tomcat. But you can also run PHP applications or Python or Ruby. There is also Perl support, Node.js as well. And then you get also this concept of embed cartridges, which means you have this gear with a certain type, and it's going to support a certain language for your application. And you can also add support for data storage, for example. So if, let's say, you want MySQL database or Postgre or MongoDB, maybe, etc. You can also have continuous integration with Jenkins, support for cron if you need to run scheduled tasks, and more things like this. The cool thing about OpenShift Origin is that you can also bring your custom cartridge. So let's say, for example, you want to run some specific version of MySQL, which is not provided as a cartridge, as a built-in cartridge. But you can write your custom cartridge, and then your applications are going to take advantage of it. Or maybe you want to write a cartridge for some runtime that is not supported yet. Let's say you would like something like InfiniSpan or Vertex or something like this. Well, you can write your own cartridge for it. Then, so we've got our gear which is set up with some middleware and language. And there is one very important thing which is part of your gear, it's a Git repository. Basically, what you're going to do as a user, you're going to write your code on your machine, you're going to test it, and when it's fine, you just need to push your changes onto the Git, on the remote Git repository which is running, which is hosted on your application gear. And OpenShift is going to take care about the rest. So basically, if you have let's say you have a Java application, you write your code, you push it with Git, so it's basically just a Git push using SSH, and OpenShift is going to trigger an event build for your application, and once the build is finished, it's going to redeploy your application. So this is one way to do. And if you configure some continuous integration support with Jenkins, then the build is going to be delegated to a Jenkins slave going on OpenShift as well. And when the build is successful, your application is going to be redeployed. So you get a new version. And this is just done after you made a simple Git push. Now, your application is running on OpenShift, and it's running very successfully, and you need more. You get more users. So OpenShift also supports scaling, which means you can have many gears running your application server at the same time. So you can configure your application with a minimum and maximum number of gears, and OpenShift is going to take care about starting or stopping gears given your traffic. And this is done with an HA proxy which is running in front of your application server. One thing I forgot to mention in the previous slide was there is also this Apache HTTP server, web server, which is running, and it's running as a reverse proxy, so your user can access your application. The thing is, everything which is in red on this diagram is managed by OpenShift, which means you don't have access to the Apache web server. And so, the last thing, this is a diagram I showed you at the beginning, but really, the way how it works with OpenShift, OpenShift Origin, OpenShift Online is you write your code, you push on OpenShift, OpenShift takes care about deploying, and it's available for your users. Now let's talk about openness. OpenShift is open source. You can get it. You can get the source code or RPMs if you want to install it, or some ISO if you want to run on a virtual machine. This is what I'm going to show you later. I've got a virtual box and OpenShift Origin running inside of it. And you can have access, you can have support with IRC or email or phone. And just to give you an overview of what OpenShift Origin is, well, OpenShift Origin is an upstream project for OpenShift Online, which is what you get when you go to OpenShift.com. So this is a platform which is hosted by Red Hat. It's free, so you can just try it if you want. And on the other side, you get OpenShift Enterprise, which is on-premise or private cloud solution for enterprise. You also have freedom for the build and runtime. So this is something I talked about quickly, but really basically this applies to OpenShift Online, but it's the same for OpenShift Origin. You get a choice of hosting. So OpenShift Online runs on Amazon Web Services, and it has runs on nodes are running Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Then you get a choice of middleware if you want to run a JBoss application server or Tomcat or some other middleware. You get a choice of storage if you want Mongo, PostgreSQL, MySQL. If you don't have, the built-in cartridges are not what you want, You can bring your own cartridges. So you have a large choice of languages. Of course, you can bring your own framework, and you get some developer tooling. And there are even package applications. So one cool thing, for example, is you can have, they call it now instant applications. If you want to run, for example, if you want to run a WordPress blog, it's just one click on the web console and you get a cartridge set up for you with PHP, WordPress running on it, and MySQL configured. Just one click. So, developer tools. So you have this web console, which you can use if you want to configure, so create and configure fields. And what you get after this is a Git URL. So you get the URL for Git repository, you clone it on your machine, you work with it, put some code, some config files maybe, and just push and it goes to OpenShift. You get some command line tooling as well. So you get the same kind of features, which is application management, but you can also do some nice things such as tail log files. So you can get your log files of your application running on OpenShift and the logs get to your terminal. You can do some post forwarding as well, and I will show you how it works a little bit later. And of course, you get the same level of features with JBoss tools, which is the thing I work on, but it's inside your IDE. So you get your development environment and just a few clicks and it goes to OpenShift. And so this is what I'm going to show you now. So as I said, I've got this VirtualBox here. It's running OpenShift Origin inside of it. And I've got JBoss Developer Studio. So JBoss Developer Studio is a package version of what you would get if you download JBoss Tools plugins for your Eclipse, basically. So what we have in JBoss Developer Studio is what we call JBoss Central, which is like a landing page. You get some news, some blogs, etc. One thing you get is this OpenShift. So you get a set of wizards to start a new project. You get also quick starts if you want. So these are, we have a collection of quick starts to cover many things with the Java in space. So I'm going to connect to my local virtual machine. And with this wizard, I can create a new application. So I got, so let's say I want to create test 2. I can pick the main cartridge I want to use, so let's say JBoss AS7. I can specify a gear profile, so there's just a small profile here, but OpenShift Online has many kind of profiles which basically give you a certain amount of memory and disk storage. I could enable scaling as well, and I can pick a cartridge. Let's say I want to have MySQL or MongoDB. So I can do something like this. And the next thing is how is it going to be put into Eclipse? So I would say I want to create a new project. The good thing about this wizard is that we support many use cases. So for example, we could say, okay, I want to start from scratch. I've got nothing. So I want to create a new application on OpenShift. This is one thing. And I want to create a new project on Eclipse. And I want both to start with both at the same time. So this is one use case. This wizard is going to call the broker. On the broker, we will have a Git repository, and the content of the Git repository will be cloned on my machine, and it's going to, and we'll get the Eclipse project targeted at this cloned repo. So this is the first use case. We have support for another use case, which is you start working on your project locally, and it looks fine, and then you want to put it on OpenShift. Well, you can do this as well. So you're going to say, okay, I want to create a new application on OpenShift with the same runtime. So, yeah, JBoss AS or MySQL, for example. I'm not going to create a new project. I'm going to reuse some existing project. So it will be one of the projects I get in my workspace. And I show you what this server adapter is. So this is the second use case. And the third use case is I'm working on a new machine. Let's say I change a laptop, or someone in my team is going to help me working, or some friend is going to help me. So I've got this application running on OpenShift with a repository which is already existing with some code in it. And I'm going to clone this existing repository. So there's no need to create a new application. This application already exists. But I just want to create a new project on my second laptop. And I'm going to start the project. I'm going to get an Eclipse project for an existing application. And so this wizard supports the three use cases. So I'm not going to create it. It's quite fast. It takes just a minute to get everything set up, but I'm just going to move forward. So basically, I'll show you what we have. So the next thing is when you have your application or your project is set up on Eclipse, you get this server. These are very specific servers. It's not like a server adapter you will get for your local Tomcat or JBoss. It's a server adapter you get for your remote JBoss application server running on OpenShift. And I can do some things like, okay, this one is the first to open the web browser. Oh, no, this one is not starting, so let's get the web browser for this one. So this is live, you see. Okay, so I've got my application here running on OpenShift. So this is a custom domain example.com, and I've got some content. So the next thing I have here is OpenShift Explorer, which supports multiple connections. So I have this connection admin on my local virtual machine running somewhere behind. And I also have a connection to OpenShift Online with more applications. And I see that I have this HTML5 application with some Git repository, with some public URL. It's running on JBoss 7, and I got a MySQL database inside it. So you get like the control of what you have on OpenShift. So now let's see what we can do. Some cool things we have. So for example, I can say, okay, I want to tail files. So it's using SSH, so I need to do this. So here we are. So in my console, I get the output, the live output of my application running on OpenShift in the virtual machine. But you get the same thing with OpenShift running online. So you get the logs on your console just as if it was a local server, but it's not. It's a remote server. So just to show you how it works, if I keep a refresh, I should have more logs. Maybe I will clear the log the console here. And since I'm displaying the Hibernate queries, I should see something. And I'm not. This is a real demo. Things are not working as expected. Anyway, let's move on. Another thing I can do is port forwarding. So port forwarding is about having local sockets I can connect to, and when I connect to this socket, in fact, I will connect to remote port running on OpenShift. So I'm going to start this. So, okay, I've got some port forwarding here. So what I can do now, since I got a service, local socket for MySQL, what I can do is use a data source explorer here. I'm going to connect here. going and connecting to the localhost 33.0.6 port. And what I'm going to see here I can get a sample content. And what I get is the content on the database on OpenShift. So the point is your data are on OpenShift, but you get access to your data. So it's not like it's a lot and you can do anything with them. So yes, you just get access to them. Another thing we can do, since we have port forwarding enabled for this application on OpenShift, is doing some remote debugging. And this is possible for the following reason. I have in this .OpenShift folder, I got some marker files, and one of them is called enable.jpg. So basically, when my JBoss application server is restarted, remote debugging is going to be enabled. And here's what I can do. I'm going to connect to start a remote debugger on my localhost port 8787. And just as we did for the data source and database content browsing, we're going to connect to a local socket and it's going to forward all the messages to a remote socket on OpenShift. So let's start it. And now I'm going to go to some code here. I'm going to put a breakpoint, which is already available. I think I know what it was. Okay. It was already debugging before, and I think that's why I didn't get my logs. So, okay. Now, if I click here, I hit my breakpoint on my Eclipse. So basically, I'm doing some remote debugging on the OpenShift application. So we wouldn't do something like this on a real production service, of course, but if you have an OpenShift application which is for testing, well, you can do some remote debugging and put some breakpoints. And so let's move on. And maybe up here we get some logs now. So yeah, that's it for the demo. And yeah, basically that's it for the presentation. So if you want to try OpenShift, you go to OpenShift.com, or if you want to know more about the open source stuff in OpenShift, you go to the community/open source page. And if you want to know more about OpenShift, we are on GitHub, on IRC, and on Twitter. And if you want to try the JBoss tools, tooling for OpenShift, you go to jboss.org/tools. And we are also on GitHub, on IRC, and on Twitter. So thank you.